We're live. This is
Do
Steve
it.
Rothman with The Fighting News. This is the award winning Fighting News TV show coming to you from South Florida, home of the most exciting MMA, boxing, and bare knuckle around. We have some of the top professional and amateur combat athletes, future Olympians, top coaches, top gyms, top weather, and we have another exciting show for you today. Take it away, Matt.
You did pretty well at that, Steve. You read that better than Trump reads the teleprompter. But another two or three shows, you do that fine.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is I'm very excited about this show. We have Ray Longo with us. Ray, for those of you in the audience that don't know, because we don't just have a MMA audience, we have a boxing audience here too. So they might not know who you are. I can't believe it in this day and age, but Ray is the owner, along with Chris Weidman, of Law MMA in Garden City, New York. He's a certified USA amateur boxing coach. He's a Long Island representative for the European American Thai Boxing Association under Phil Nurse, who we're going to talk about in a few minutes too. He's a certified Jeet Kune Do instructor under Richie Bustillo, Tom Bertel, and Paul Vunak. He founded Ray Longo's International Martial Arts Academy in 1990, trained thousands of students. And I'm reading this all off your website, man. Golden Gloves champs, American Thai kickboxing champs, UFC fighters. You coached on The Ultimate Fighter Season 6. And you're the mastermind behind two of the greatest upsets in UFC history. Matt versus George St. Pierre and Chris Weidman over Anderson Silva. How does that feel?
I didn't even know we had a. I didn't even know we had a website, Matt, that you're reading that. I got to update that thing. That's a lot of that stuff. You're going way back. Those guys didn't do their homework when they put that up. But it feels good, man. It feels good. And it was during this time of quarantine, I got to sit back and reflect on a lot of stuff. So it's really because normally it's just after one fight you move on to the next fight. So this was the slowest period I've had in the last probably 30 years. So, on one level it felt good. On one level it felt horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. So you've been quarantining now since probably the same time as us, or around middle of March, right?
Like the last week in March, I think it started, and it seemed like it was going to go for a month. And look where we're at, man. It's actually bizarre at this point, but
Right. And some of your guys are still fighting, but you're not going to the right?
Yeah, I haven't gone to I might go in August. We got Chris Weidman fighting August 8th, and Merab Dvalishvili just booked a fight for the 15th, and then Mizuki, a girl from Japan that's been trained at the gym, is the 23rd. So I'll probably go to at least two of those. I just talked to Matt about it, and we'll see. I don't know. The other ones, those guys did most of the training, at another location. We went to the gym to spar, but they had great performances. Aljamain Sterling over Corey Sandhagen was a phenomenal finish, and Merab just on 4 days' notice jumped in there and got a different opponent at the end, but he just put on another takedown clinic. So, yeah, the guys are all well-schooled. We try to do the best we can, and we're trying to get back a little bit to normal now, but it's still not where we were. We were on a freaking roll and a half for 2020. We just got completely shut down. So I'm glad Aljo and Merab kept it going, and hopefully these guys, they'll do the same coming up in August.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw both their fights, and they're both incredible athletes. They're both very athletic guys, and that Aljamain has a style, man. Where does he get his? And I know he's a great jiu-jitsu wrestling guy, right? He's also from. Isn't he from Hofstra too?
No. He wrestled. He was a D3 wrestler, I think, up in Cortland.
Cortland. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it was one of the New York schools. But his striking style also is pretty unique, man. And he hit you with things that. Who's he getting that from? Is he getting that from you, Ray, or is he getting that from other guys in the gym? What's the deal?
I think that's his own stuff, man. I just, when I look at a guy, I try to enhance what they are already doing instead of changing a lot of people. And Aljo kind of was that guy, and I just try to just guide him along that. They had a couple of things here and there, but that's really all Aljo, man. He can throw kicks like people can throw punches, and I think that's what makes him unique. A lot of guys use their hands to set up their feet. Aljo uses his feet to set up his hands, and when you could throw 4 or 5 kicks in a combination, that's hard to deal with, So I think that's where he finds his success. But that's all Aljo, man. He's the Funk Master. That's why he's got the nickname, and he's funky, man. He's good, and on the ground, he's an animal for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. He's creative, with
yeah.
He reminds me of Ferguson a little bit.
Yeah. A little. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, I think a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both different, but
yeah.
So Matt touched something.
Yeah.
No, I got a phone call coming in.
Oh, you got to block
just the
those.
fact that they were that they that they're unpredictable, and that's how do you train for something like that when you don't know?
Well, that's the beauty of it. Yeah, that's the beauty of it, Matt. Especially, I felt good going into that last fight because if Sandhagen couldn't, even if you could bring in people, Aljo's hard to replicate. But even in a time when you're skimping on your training, you have to, because it's hard to fly guys in and out. I knew that was going to be a problem. He's not an easy guy to train for.
Yeah, exactly. And who else you have? You have Merab. I'm going to butcher his last name. I'll let you say it again.
I think it's Merab Dvalishvili.
Merab. All right.
Wow.
And
Steve, give it a shot.
So he's from
Merab Dvalishvili.
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 Yeah, there you
Dvalishvili. So where's he from?
You sound like you're from Georgia. The Republic
I'm from Huntington, Long Island.
No, he's
Strong Island.
He's from the Republic of Georgia.
Yeah. So how did he come over to how did he end up in Long Island? Was he going to school around there, or how did he end up in the
man, that's a good question. He had coincidentally though, he ended up not only in Long Island, he ended up in Garden City Park, which is right by the gym. And I think how he got to the gym, I'm trying to make a long story short, but his buddy fought one of my guys, Eddie Gordon, in a ring of combat. And then I had Chris training at Henzo's. We went there for sparring. And the guy saw me. He goes, "You remember me? I fought Eddie." And I go, "Yeah, I kind of remember you." And he goes, I go, "What do you live in the city?" He goes, "No, I live in the Long Island." I go, "Wait." He goes, "Garden City." I go, "Wow." I go, "I got a gym in Garden City." And then he came in. That guy's name was David. He came in with Merab, and Merab was just a sweetheart of a guy. And they're both still there. So it was a really nice thing, but it was kind of coincidental that I even ran into him at Henzo's, man. Small world. So just worked out good, and he's really just the heart and soul of the team now. He's a great guy. Really, really super guy. Everybody loves him.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a small world, the Watt just started following us today, and I'm like, the Watt? That's Phil Nurse's place. That's a coincidence because the last time I saw Phil Nurse was in your gym in 1990, whatever, 93, 94, whatever that was. And, talk about an incredible athlete. That guy is, I remember seeing him fight, and he was incredible.
No, he was fast, man. He brought a lot to the table. Phil was a good guy, man. He helped me out a lot back in the day. Yeah, it was good, man. That's funny, man. The Watt just started following you
today.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's coincidental. But
yeah, and I've seen him on TV. I knew he cornered worked with Georges St. Pierre. I remember that, and I remember seeing him then. But in the past couple of years, I haven't seen or heard anything about him.
Yeah, I think he just had George. That was it, and whatever. Yeah, he probably was with a couple other people here and there, but maybe nothing. Like you said, I tell you, in the last 4 or 5 years, probably nothing. But I haven't seen him in a while either.
Yeah. Well, he was some athlete, man. I remember he used to just go over there, and he wasn't a tall guy at all. What was he, about maybe 5'5" or at the
Yeah, I would
tallest?
say
He
probably about 5'6", 147, maybe 5'7". He was good, man. Phil was good. He was a good dude. I'm glad to see
yeah,
he's doing well.
and he'd go there, he'd just jump over the ropes to get into the ring. Yeah,
Yeah, he was pretty to watch.
yeah. Um,
So,
Go
so
ahead, Steve.
Ray, I got a question for Ray.
Yeah.
I want to hear how you got a nickname, the Godfather.
Man, I have no clue. That comes from that's probably Sarah. I would think he's good
Yeah?
with nicknames. I would think it's got to be him. He gives me a lot of nicknames. That guy. So I guess I mean I don't know. I don't know how that happened, but it happened and it's funny. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Black Zillions, we used to see them all the time because they had the gym down in Boca, and then you guys had your own shirt going on. What was the name on your shirt?
Yeah, that was a spoof on that. It was called the Black Italians.
The
The
Black
Black
Italians.
Yeah, because we had a lot of Italian guys at the time and a couple of African American guys. It was funny, man. They loved that shirt. I got to bring that shirt back. The black. Yeah, that was funny, man. Everybody loved that.
Yeah. So
Ray, where do you live
team's
in?
not around anymore, but some of the guys that were in that team are still around and still fighting.
Yeah.
One of them is a friend of ours that he got a last minute call to the UFC. Erwin Rivera. He was a bantamweight champ for Titan. He just got a call to fight in the UFC last minute. Moved up a weight class, and he put on a show. He didn't win the fight, but
Yeah.
he came from that Black Zillions camp.
Oh
So
wow!
you get it.
They had a tough bunch of guys at the beginning.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Tyrone Spong.
Yeah,
Rashad Evans.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Usman. Kamaru Usman.
That's where they all started. I think what was the guy's name that owned that passed away?
Glenn
Robinson.
Yeah.
And then I think Henry Hoof split up and he did his own thing. And I think that's a shame what happened now. Now Usman left because they're making him fight the Brazilian kid.
Burns,
which stinks, man. I think that's horrible. Like that guy was the champ. He should have stayed. But
right.
And that's what happens when you have a big place, man. I never want to see that happen.
Your gym is now, but back in the day, it was very family-like,
Yeah, no, it's still the same
always the feeling that I got there.
Yes, definitely still the same way. But let me answer your question before I didn't get a chance to answer it, Steve. I live in Syosset now.
Okay. Yeah. The Syosset Diner back open yet?
Just now, maybe for takeout. But,
oh boy.
Yeah, and that's all awful. Dude, it's like a ghost town.
Damn.
And now they have people eating in the parking lots here. It's not a good look.
Right. But at least you guys aren't getting sick, and we have 10,000 new cases a day in Florida,
Yeah, no, it looks like we're doing good, so.
Yeah. You are. We're not doing well in Florida here.
Well, they're testing. How's the hospital situation? Is it overcrowded or?
Almost. It's
wow.
overcrowded. Yeah. They're telling people, please stop going to the beaches and partying.
Yeah. Well, did they close the beaches this week or no?
This weekend, yeah.
Yeah. No,
the beach was packed
video
today.
Let me tell you something. That video at the beginning of this thing with that fucking idiot that was just yelling into the mic. He didn't care if he got anything. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was. I think he was in Daytona. It was hard to look at.
Yeah. Well, they had a town hall meeting in Palm Beach County, and there was one woman that she says, "I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things got breathe." This is what she says.
It's a class act, man. That's a class act.
Yeah.
And it's a girl you want to take home to your mom.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's funny. Some of they don't care. They don't know. But let's get back to martial arts here. So you had a champion back then who was the other instructor in your gym when I was there in the early 90s, Mike Ryan.
I
And
love that guy, man. He was a tough bastard, no?
he really was.
No, he was
You know,
tough.
he was.
He was a street guy, that guy. I loved him. He was good. I still see him every so often at the fights. He comes down. But yeah, he was
What is he doing?
he was a badass at the time. What was that?
What is he doing with his life, though? You know,
he's a corrections guard over at Nassau.
Oh, great.
Yeah. He got on the job late too, but I guess he's doing good. He's got his benefits or whatever. But he was good back in the day, man.
Yeah, Fighting Irish, Mike. I remember I was at a family dinner, and one of my cousins, you know, on my father's side, says to me, "Oh, I heard you doing kickboxing, or whatever. Who's your teacher?" He goes, so I said, "Ray Longo and Mike Ryan." He's like, "Fighting Irish, Mike Ryan?" Because at that time, man, kickboxing, those fights were on ESPN, and they were a big deal.
Oh,
it was prime time, you know, television.
That ESPN, that was ESPN too. That was a huge card we had, man. I was just talking to Lou about that. Because they only had a certain budget, we had to do like 25 fights. So these guys were at 2 a.m. were still fighting. We had to squeeze as many fights in so they could split it up to like 4 shows to make it worthwhile. But I remember the dressing room at 2 a.m. Guys were falling asleep. They still hadn't fought yet. It was crazy. But that was broadcast all over the place. That was a big deal for the guys that were fighting. What do you get? Another phone call?
Yeah, I guess he's getting a phone call.
I'll be back in a second.
No, that's good. That's going to be me.
There you go. See you later, Matt. So I got Ray Longo here. So Ray, if so you're in the MMA world.
Yeah.
If you had to pick your Mount Rushmore 4 people, and I don't want to say your 4 favorite MMA people, but what 4 people would you put on Mount Rushmore?
I'm gonna look. I'm just gonna exclude all of my guys because I put all of my guys.
You can exclude all your guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna exclude all of them.
Okay.
I would go with GSP, Anderson Silva, man, I need 2 more.
GSP Silva, which is a good start.
Yeah, no, which is a good start. I mean, Khabib would definitely be up there if he had another couple of fights, but it might be a little too early for him. Who else do we got? I think, look, you know, I'm not a big fan of the guys, but you got to put John Jones up there. He's a dominant force, yeah. So I'd go with those 4 for right now. Man, please, I hope I'm not even really thinking hard, but that's
all right. That's a great Mount Rushmore. Yeah, GSP, Silva, John Jones, and Khabib.
I'd throw Khabib up there.
That's a good list.
It's a good list.
Yeah.
And if I had to change it up and not call it Mount Rushmore, 4 favorite all-time fighters.
That's easy.
Would it be a different list?
Yeah, it would be Matt Serra, Chris Weidman, Aljamain Sterling, and Al Iaquinta.
There you go.
Al Iaquinta, yeah.
Yeah, no, and everybody else that follows those guys.
Nice. I like it.
We got a big.
How's Al Iaquinta doing? Does he have fights coming up, or is he? What's he doing?
I think he was slated for August 15th, but I'm not sure where that's at right now. I think originally told me that maybe a week or 2 ago, but I didn't hear anything else on that.
Okay. Yeah, he's an exciting fighter too.
I love that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah. And again, the striking, you know, all these guys are great. They're great strikers, you know?
Yeah, I just, you know what happens with these guys, Matt, too? They get a lot of injuries. Nobody knows what they go through. So, you know, you always have to change around things and work around injuries. But as these guys get older, look, Chris has 23 surgeries. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, even if he be a D1 wrestler, you know, get to where he got in the wrestling world, that's at 22. You're already banged up. Now you go into MMA, which is insanity to the max. and he's up to 23 surgeries, and he's going to have more. There's no question about it. So, when you start working around the injuries, things change. But when these guys were young, they it was a different ball game. Now, you try and squeeze a lot out of the experience should take over for some of the things maybe you couldn't do when you were young. But it's tough, man. I watch these guys really rehab shit, and it as a coach, man, it's hard to look at because they love fighting, and the injuries are just they're a nightmare. They really are. It's just no other way to put it. So the sacrifice these guys make on their bodies, that's why when guys are asking for more money, I'm always behind it because it's a short window, and it's not like they're going to retire and that's it. They're looking at knee replacements and hip replacements and everything else.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Even Matt Serra, who I'm going to say rarely had an injury by today's standards, he had barely nothing. He needs a knee replacement. He's probably 47. That's young, And that was a guy that was kind of injury free. He tore his meniscus maybe once, or he had a bicep tear, but he never went for surgery. And so these guys, they put a lot in. They put their bodies through hell, man. They really, like they're doing great. All my guys are doing great, but they could be doing better. That's but they all own beautiful houses, and the guys that are up there. So it's good. It's Matt used to ask me about his pay. Do you think it's fair? I go, I think it's fair. I don't think it's right. Right means you get a cut of the pay-per-views that you deserve, but is it fair? Yeah, they all make good money, man. They all change their lives, which is awesome.
Well, Chris, Celebrity Net Worth has Chris Weidman as $3 million.
Yeah. I don't know. I could tell you. I could tell you he's in Dick Sills. He's got a 6,000 square foot house, and his taxes are $45,000 a year. So
there you go.
Whatever that means. I don't know, but that's a huge spread he's got.
Nice.
How old are his kids, Ray?
Man, I think CJ just turned 8. The little guy's probably 4, and his daughter is probably 9 or 10.
So 10 more years of paying $45,000 in taxes.
No, he's gonna get out.
Still fight.
I think he wants to move to the Carolinas. So.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, with this quarantine and the pandemic or whatever, man, people are just running off of Long Island at this point.
Yeah.
Well, how long ago did you leave, Steve?
I lived in Dix Hills. Graduated high school, went to college, and then I moved to Bayside, Queens. I've been in Florida for 15 years.
Wow. And what made you pick Florida?
Well, it was Arizona or Florida because I hate cold weather. So.
Oh, I got you. All right, cool.
Arizona is really hot compared to Florida. So.
What high school did you go in Dix Hills?
Half Hollow Hills West.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. I wrestled in high school. Wrestling team.
How old are you?
I'm 51.
Wow. Oh man, you look way younger. Way younger.
Thanks, Ray.
I was gonna say there were a couple of young guys that wrestled, but I'm saying they're like late 30s. I didn't. You don't look 51. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, me and Matt are the same age, just about.
Wow.
Yeah. So I met Matt through my cousin, Brad Rosenberg, who's the guy who said he came into your school looking to kick some ass like the Karate Kid. So.
Yeah, well, that's what Brad wanted to do, man. We went into a couple of schools, and back then they had like the Taekwondo places, and they had this one karate guy. He was an older Japanese teacher, and it was a small room, and there were like 10 guys in there, and 2 guys were practicing. Everyone else was watching, and I'm like, man, this is boring. Then I went to your place, and you guys have the Thai pads out. Everyone's kicking. Everyone's hitting. You're taking turns, and I'm like, yes, this is a lot better,
Yeah. And those were good days back then. I miss those days.
Yeah, and I think I just graduated college, and I'm like, look, man, I'm just looking for something. I want to work out for the summer. I was starting a new job in the fall or whatever, And I said, but I want to get in there and spar. And you said to me, well, you got to learn the basics first, and then, I'll let you get in there if you wanted just to say that you did it, And and
But I
that's
was trying to
about at
protect
the
you.
end of the summer, I got in there with the guy who was smaller than me, younger than me, and I didn't even see the punches coming, Ray. The guy just he lit me up, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, I like this, man, and then I just kept coming back. But I was working back then also, so I was in and out of the gym. But I loved it, man. I love training
Yeah,
with you. And
that's funny, man.
I
Yeah, I did that
started
a lot with people.
at Fred Villari's Studio of Self Defense.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you were talking about Higa in East Meadow with the small place, Matt.
yeah,
Was it
I I,
Higa?
I wouldn't remember his name, but I remember you and Mike talking about him because he used to kick his students in the balls just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see.
yeah.
That was
That's a
part of the training to take a full shot to the nuts.
yeah. That's a guy you want to stick around.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kicking you in the balls. That's nice.
My instructor was Guy Doobie. Guy
Man,
Doobie. Yeah,
I know from Fred Villard there was a guy Tom Ingargiolo, I think was one of the instructors over there.
yeah. Well, I
I
was
had a
in Dix
couple of,
Hills when I was doing that. So
yeah, he was probably in Babylon, I think. But
yeah,
yeah,
but
shit, man. I'm thinking,
what? So what do you think of Hoist Gracie bringing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the United States? I mean, there was like when me and Matt, what all these schools were talking about, there was like a few karate schools for me to learn karate when I was.
yeah,
Now there's like thousands of them.
it's crazy, man. They did a
Yeah,
great job with the jujitsu, and yeah, we were there at the beginning in the city. That's where I met Matt Serra,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
wow, they did a great job with that art, man. But it all came together with the UFC and jiu-jitsu. It was like the perfect storm, and man, the times have really changed. What a growth that they experienced in 20 years is crazy.
yeah,
The Gracies did a great job with that, man, bringing it over. They really did.
yep,
I remember when UFC 1, we were talking about it at the gym, and I didn't see it on TV the night that it came out, but I rented it later. But I remember you talking about it and some of the other guys saying, number one, I remember you saying he's not even the best Gracie out there.
Well, yeah,
Voice.
well, Hickson, well, the
You know?
story was, well, Hickson definitely was the best Gracie.
right.
And there
But
was
he
a
was too
reason
big.
why. Yeah, they did. Yeah, maybe there was I think that might have been it. Is that the story?
Yeah, he was
That
too
they didn't
big.
put him in. Yeah, they didn't put him in there, so they wanted to really show jujitsu. So Hoist was probably a $175, tall and lanky,
Yeah,
and so they threw him in there for that reason. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. He's Hickson was the man. Though I had him at the school. He did a seminar once, and then he did his blue belt test. That he was. At that time, he was phenomenal to watch.
yeah,
Phenomenal.
yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. But yeah, they did a really, really good job, man. It changed martial arts forever. It was never the same after that, in a good way.
What's the
In
address,
terms of
Ray?
the stuff that you teach now compared to the stuff that you were teaching back then in 1992, what's changed? Do you still teach like
You know
the
what it is?
Filipino martial arts and things like that?
Yeah, I do that more privately, but no, I don't. We don't have classes for that. Like back then, I used to mix everything together in the same class because there really wasn't the competitive aspect. Now I just focus on boxing and the kickbox, Thai boxing, whatever you want to call it, because I just don't even have the time. So I have to give the guys what they need, when they're fighting. So every so often I throw. I mean, I still use the concepts from JKD and Kali, but a lot of guys. I do a lot. I haven't done it in a while, but I do a lot of. I was doing a lot of knife fighting with Quinta, and a lot of the guys. It's pretty cool stuff. So they want to see it, but when it comes fight time, we concentrate just on the fights and what they need to
Yeah.
fight. So it's definitely more boxing and Thai boxing is what I do now.
Yeah. I think the knife sparring is I think it adds it really helps with your coordination and also your speed. The
Without it,
way,
no, I love it. I agree with you. You
yeah,
know, but if they're open to the concept of that, it's good. If not, you got to keep them on track. But I love the knife scoring. I think is good for anything, just for reflexes, and yeah, I've done that. They've done that. A couple of guys, that like it. So I think especially today, man, you need some sort of weapon retention system. Because I don't think anybody fights fair anymore, and
right,
so it doesn't hurt to have that.
yeah. Well, I was thinking just the way we used to do it, where you're just trying to hit the guy's hand. You're trying to
Right,
hit the
right,
lead
right.
hand, and
Yeah,
you can't do it unless you're relaxed. And
without a doubt.
and
Yeah,
that's what helps. I thought that made my jab faster, was doing that. I thought it helped.
I agree with you, man. I think if you can
Yeah,
mentally make that connection, you have to be relaxed. And even that concept, if a guy has a knife on you, to defang the snake, to slice his hand so he can't hold the knife. Like, if you go to stab me, I go to stab you, we're both dead. But if you go to
yeah.
stab me and I slice your hand open, I think that's a huge advantage, just that concept alone.
I did it to a guy. I did it to a guy because I work for the school system, and we were doing a training with two police officers on how to safely, hold kids down, or so we don't hurt them or whatever. So the guy wanted to show us what would happen if a kid had a knife. And he was a small, wiry guy, and he comes and he's slashing the knife or whatever. So I took my fingers like this, and I gave him one of these, and I hit his hand. I kind of surprised myself when I did it, but I just took one step back when he was coming in, and I flicked him, and I hit his hand. He's like, you still would have been cut up. I said, yeah, but if I had a knife, your fingers are on the floor right now.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's true. That's true, man. That's a big deal. That concept alone, just
Yeah,
playing around with that, is big. You know what I mean? Look, even in the UFC, you see guys get fingers in their eyes. They're looking for the referee. That's a
yeah,
bad thing. So if you can, those eye strikes are still really good today. So that it holds a lot of weight.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's it. The other I see John Jones doing that oblique kick a lot, but
Oh
not a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
other guys do that.
yeah. We had that kick back in the '90s. We always did that. The
Yeah,
oblique kicks. Yeah. Yeah, people think that even switching leads and some of the other stuff they do is new. That's been going on forever, man. JKD, we never had a lead. It was always they like the traditionally they wanted you strong side forward, but Vunak used to teach. He was always laterally moving, and you never knew which lead anybody was in. For the
yeah,
kickboxing guys at the time, I just made them focus on one side because they had to compete. I didn't want them running all over the place. I just didn't have the time for that. But the guys that get it now, man, are really good. Aljo switches leads just as good as anybody. Like a Dominic Cruz, you don't know what lead that guy's in.
yeah,
So, yeah, I love it, man. A lot of people got very creative, but those concepts have been around forever. But when you could do it in a situation like the UFC, then it's good. Because that is for real. Back then we didn't have the laboratory like these guys have to go in and try stuff. But I'm glad to see a lot of that old stuff still is around and working, man. It's good,
Yeah.
great to see. Yeah, really
yeah.
good.
Who do you
A
think
lot of
takes
people.
UFC this weekend? Usman or Burns?
Man, I got to go. I mean, it's next week, but I got to go with Usman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go with Usman. I think even though the other guys got the jiu-jitsu, it's going to be interesting, man.
Yeah.
I think the interesting part to me is they train together. So there's
Right.
somebody in that gym that has a real good idea who's going to win that fight.
Right.
The guys that have seen those guys spar and roll around, somebody has a really good idea who's winning that fight. Does anybody know what the odds on that fight are?
Let's take a look.
No, I'll try and bring it up. But the thing about Burns is he's been improving a lot.
Yeah,
He
no,
got
look, I don't. Anybody could win that fight. Look, the fact that they're very familiar with each other is going to be interesting, you know. But you're
Yeah.
right though. Burns really called for the fight, so he's been in there with him. So obviously he thinks he can win. So that might be that
He's
he might, that might be the answer right there.
Usman
You
is
know.
bet 220 to win 100.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
he's a big favorite.
Big
Wow.
favorite.
Big favorite.
Wow.
Yeah. Burns is a plus 180 underdog.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I think it's worth 180. Put
uh,
100 down, a couple of whatever.
and that's so high probably just because Kobe Covington's the last fight when he fought Kobe. You know, it was
Yeah. That was a close fight.
that was really close.
That was a close fight.
I think if
When you
he
go
didn't
back and
break
rewatch
Kobe's jaw, it might have been
yeah,
an even closer fight
yeah.
because he said his jaw
But
was
Kobe,
like,
listen, I'm not a big Covington fan, but he was tough, man. He did go through that broken jaw. You got to give it up to him. He
yeah,
definitely, and I think that fight was definitely stopped early. And you don't
yeah,
know, he might have won that fight still. I
yeah,
don't know. Tough. That was a tough one.
Yeah. You can't count him out just because he's always throwing punches. He never stops. He's good from the beginning of the fight to the very end. And you're right. He could have come back, but
See, that's another shame. Now he's out of ATT because of all the drama that's over there. That's why I say the bigger your team is, it's only a matter of time till you're going to hit that drama. And I want nothing to do with that.
yeah,
I would hate to see my guys like go, start fighting with each other over fucking bullshit like that. I think is a shame.
yeah.
yeah.
They have some drama also for one of the coaches opened up his own MMA place.
Who was that?
Dean Thomas.
Did he open up? I love Dean. He's played really close with Matt.
So he opened up, and they basically said if you're going to train with him, you're out of ATT.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I guess that's what they've been telling people. If you're going to leave and represent another gym, don't come back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's crazy. Huh.
Yeah. I mean,
casualties of the sport.
yeah, for sure. I mean, they're big. That gym is. They have dorm rooms right on the top of it to bring fighters in from out of the United States.
Yeah.
Like
That's
real
why guys
dorm
don't
rooms.
get, like, when we win fights at the gym, that's what we're up against. Guys that are coming in from all over the place that have dorm rooms, and
Right.
it's crazy.
And that's all they do: eat, sleep, and shit. Freaking MMA.
That's why. Look, I'm proud of the fact all my guys, for the most part, they're all homegrown from Long Island.
Yeah.
It's been a great ride with these guys, and it just gives you more sense of family and community, and that's why everybody's tight together. When you have a place and you got people coming in from 80 different countries, there's no cohesiveness.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So last time I interviewed Chris Weidman was when he was on his tour for Chris versus Silva 1. So
wow.
that was a while ago, and Dana White took them around everywhere. I didn't see you there. It was in Miami. It was the press conference. How many years ago was that? When Chris fought him.
I think that was 7 years ago.
Like 7 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never went on any of the press tours.
Yeah.
Just the week of the fight. Yeah.
Right. That's so.
Unless it was in New York.
So explain that experience. Did you train differently for that fight against Silva with Chris?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I brought in some really like a little lighter but lankier boxers, and we had a great I thought game plan for that, and it was good, man. He was squared away in that first fight. I knew he was going to win that fight, but it was Anderson Silva, and he was on a roll, and he had a highlight reel from hell. You know what I mean? So, you got to contend with that too. What he did, how he embarrassed everybody in the last 10 fights. But But yeah, no, I thought we had a great camp for that, for 1 and 2,
And
and
because he was like 10-1 underdog, right?
yeah, no, that was pretty good because I think
Yeah,
Sarah was at 20-1 with
yeah,
GS. I don't know why they don't give these guys any credit, but yeah, Chris, man, he didn't even have many fights. I don't think.
yeah,
What do you have? 10 fights, 12 fights.
yeah.
Uh, well, that was
And
a
Yeah, something like
wild. That was a wild experience, man.
yeah,
That Brazil was put on its head, man. They were not happy,
right.
you know.
no, they all said
That
it
was,
was a fluke. You know,
yeah,
like what
I
happened,
think
it
they
was a fluke.
yeah, I think they said the second one was a fluke too.
Yeah,
So
except me. I wrote an article on at the time because I watched it at a bar around the corner here. And as soon as I saw that leg check and I saw that the heel of his foot was going up towards his butt, I'm like, I knew what he was trying to do. I knew he was
oh
trying to
yeah,
do a destruction on there. It was different than a regular check, you know. And
yeah. People think that's bullshit too, but it's not.
yeah, they do.
You know, I broke a guy's leg after in the other gym like that with a shin guard on. So it's not
Yeah,
if you hit that right, man. It's not. It's awful.
it hurts, man. It
Oh,
hurts.
it hurts. Yeah, especially if you don't have a conditioned shin, it hurts.
Yeah, I had uh, I had a couple of friends right here behind me in the living room. One of the girls that works with us and her daughter, they were holding pads, and the daughter threw a round kick, and it connected to her mother's elbow, and
Oh,
the reaction was immediate. You know, she's like, ah, you know,
yeah.
and that's just an elbow on the shin.
Yeah.
You know,
Look, there's a million times in training where a guy kicks the elbow, his foot's broken. You're not going to break the shin with the elbow, but your foot always gets mangled, and that happens.
yeah.
That's why I make people wear elbow pads when we get closer to the fight, just to prevent that from happening.
The fact that you're still at it after all the years, man, it's great. It's great to see, you know.
Yeah, they can't get rid of me.
And like for me, you know, I'm 50, Steve's 51. You know, it keeps us young going out to these shows, and it really does because it's excitement, and
Yeah.
you know, we get to meet a lot of people, and we're doing you know, we provide a service, and especially for these you know, these kids that are up and coming in the MMA world and in the boxing. You know, when you're interviewing an amateur boxer that's never been in front of a camera before, they have to get used to that, and they appreciate it. They like seeing themselves on social
Yeah.
media and being shared and all that. And you know, it's a good feeling to be part of their success. You know.
Plus, we cover the Florida Golden Gloves, future boxing champions of America. You know, the
Yeah.
Golden Gloves.
How,
We
is that anywhere as big as the New York Golden
no.
Gloves? No, right? I think
No,
nothing's like New York with the Golden
nothing.
Gloves. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, they got rid of the Golden Gloves in New York City. They don't have it anymore. They have
They don't have it at the Garden anymore. Daily News doesn't sponsor it, I don't think, but
right.
they still have to have the gloves. But you might be right, man. Who the hell knows?
So Ray, let me ask you one more question. What gives you after this, you know, career of 30 years or so, whatever that you've had, and you trained so many champions, even before the UFC, you had the kickboxing champions, and I remember there was one kid from your gym who was he fought a real Thai boxer from Thailand, and he beat him. You remember that?
Oh, that was Lee Dolowich, man. He was awesome. That kid.
Lee.
He was Lee was great, man. I still
Yeah.
keep in touch with him. Yeah, he became a psychiatrist. He's living out
Oh,
in
really?
California.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
He did great for himself.
So we got a question. We got a question from one of our fans, Ray.
Yeah, go. Let's do it.
Knowing Ray is a Bruce Lee fan, which documentary did he like better, I Am Bruce Lee or Be Like Water?
I just saw Be Like Water. I don't remember the I Am Bruce Lee. I'm sure I saw it because I've seen everything.
Yeah,
Uh, I thought the Be Like Water was nice. It got into some different things, so it's just good seeing Bruce do anything. Anytime you see him, even that screen test for the Green Hornet, where I mean, you could just see the raw speed that guy had,
yeah,
and even the interview with that Bronson or whatever that English guy did the interview with was phenomenal. So I'm
yeah.
glad to see a lot of
Yeah.
people finally got to see some stuff that most Bruce Lee fans probably had seen 100 times.
Right.
Uh, but I was happy. I just happy to see him get any credit because if you really go back, man, he was so far ahead of his time that he was doing a version of this, man, in the 70s, which is crazy. Uh, just what an innovator and just, guy that thought outside the box and, just gifted, great attributes.
Yeah,
I thought they did a good job with the 30 for 30, but I'll probably say, because I didn't think, I'd probably say I Am Bruce Lee, though, because not that I remember that one distinctly, but I'm sure that at the time was maybe because the information was a little newer,
yeah.
probably made more of an impact. But I think for the people that never saw anything, that 30 for 30 was great.
Yeah.
Because I've seen pictures of Anderson Silva training with Dan Inosanto, and
Yeah, that was pretty
yeah,
cool.
and back in the 80s and the 90s, that's what everyone wanted to was Jeet Kune Do.
Oh, and that was big back in the 80s. And we brought all those. We brought Dan in. We brought Larry Hartzell in, Paul Vunak, Tim Tackett, anybody who was anybody in JKD. We used to bring them because there was really no place to train. And
Yeah,
we were lucky that, for me anyway, Tom Burrell had trained out there for like 4 or 5 years and then moved back to Long Island. So we got to train with him. And then it was great, man. It was a very nice period of martial arts. And then even when jiu-jitsu came around, it was new and it was just exciting, man. It's been really exciting. And then when that was over, you got that MMA, came around. It's always evolving. And luckily I was able to stay relevant, in most of the
yeah,
transitions,
yeah. Well, that's another thing. Yeah, I mean, you knew of the Gracies before UFC one,
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Richard,
And
Bustillo at the time was he refed one of Horian's fights out in California for the kickboxer, no rules, way before the UFC. So he had told me about it. He was excited about it. I'll never forget too. One thing he said to me, he goes, "The one good thing," he goes, "it's going to revive wrestling." He goes, "Because back then wrestling never got any credit for even
yeah,
like being a martial art, and now most of these, great wrestlers are dominating the sport, But I remember Bustillo saying that to me. He finally goes, "They'll finally get some credibility. Like nobody wanted to wrestle back, like when I had to school in the '90s, everybody wanted to do striking, even the wrestling
yeah.
guys, And it wasn't until jujitsu came around that wrestling kind of was could counterbalance that a little bit. So yeah, it
Uh,
was it's
That's
a
what that's
yeah.
exactly what I told Matt Serra when I saw him when he was down here at the Titan show with the Dana White show, looking for a fight.
Oh,
Um,
that's what the Titan show was. I got you. Cool.
yeah,
Did
that
they
was that
pick?
was one.
Did they pick up anybody on the show from that card?
They did. Was it Oh man, who they signed that show, Steve? They were there looking at one guy and they didn't pick him up, but they did get someone else.
Nice.
I forgot who it was, but Chase
They picked
Hoover
up
was
two,
on that
Matt.
card.
They picked up two
What's
that
that?
night. They picked up two people that night.
Yeah,
I think one of the Burns was one of them.
yeah. We got it's on our website too because I remember writing about it. But what I said to Matt was, I said, I probably met you back at Ray Longo's place in the '90s, and I'm like, I remember that you brought in two guys to teach jujitsu after the regular classes, like later at night, and not a lot of people wanted to do it. Like everybody left. I did it once or twice or whatever, just because I was curious. And was that Matt? Was he the one that was giving those lessons?
Man, I don't mean you got a better grip on what was going on back then than I do. Back then, I'm gonna say I don't think we Matt would come like every Thursday night just to train a little bunch of guys. He wasn't really teaching it though. It was just the guys that were going to the city. We needed another night to train, so we would come in, but I don't think I was letting anybody in on that.
Herbert Burns.
Oh
Herbert
wow,
Burns. Yeah.
Yeah.
man, got picked up on. Wow, that's a big
Yeah.
find. He
Looking
did
for a
great the other
fight,
night.
South Florida.
Yeah.
Wow, I would have never known that. That's great.
Yep. Yeah, I knew it was one of them. And the guy who was the main event was Jason Suarez, he won his 12 fights and had like 4 or 5 title defenses. And they came to look, at him.
Wow.
Yeah, Suarez was undefeated. He was a BJJ instructor. He's good, but they just weren't excited about his fight. So,
yeah. Wow. Crazy. But
so
I don't know who the hell was teaching back then. It had to be like a blue belt because I don't think anybody had more than a blue belt back then. So,
all right, Ray. Any last words?
No, nothing, man. It was good talking to you guys. Matt, good catching up. I didn't realize you went back to the first school, so that's wigging me out a little bit, man. It's crazy. I thought I knew you from the Garden City school, or from even the second Minneola school. But this guy goes way back, Steve. I can't. That's
man.
30 years.
He's an original gangster.
Nah, he's an OG. This guy.
He's an OG. Exactly.
And hey, Matt, where were you coming from back then? Where'd you live?
Well, I lived in Jericho, but I also had and then I moved out to Queens.
All right. So you're right by where I live now in Syosset.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I just graduated college. I just graduated Stony Brook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. But, no, I'm good to go, man. But anyway, listen, man, it's great catching up, Steve. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Ray.
Tell your
Thanks
cousin
for coming on
hello.
the show.
Yeah, anytime, man. Tell your cousin I said hi, even though I don't remember him. But tell him I remember.
I will.
Yeah, you met him once for 30 seconds.
There you go. I thought that was him. Anyway, guys, man, thank you very much, man. We'll keep in touch, man. I'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
Definitely, Ray. Thanks for coming on. It was great catching up, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Later.
So, follow Ray. Check out his website, lawmma.com. They're on One Commercial Avenue, Garden City, New York. Got a nice big gym. Train with famous people. Train with a famous trainer. Great to talk to. So his Mount Rushmore, Matt, was Khabib, GSP, Silva, and John Jones.
I always have GSP.
They all say GSP, which happened to be on mine as well.